Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Wednesday, November the 10th, 2021, and I'm here at the intersection of Dundas Street and First Street in the East End of London, Ontario, Canada. I have with me here today this folding bike, and in this video I'm going to be riding this bike and giving a narrated tour, starting from here in the East End of London and riding it to downtown London. And I'm going to be following this trail here, which goes through Kiwanis Park, and it connects up with the south branch of the Thames Valley Parkway, or TVP. Alright, so here we begin as we head our way first kind of in the south direction, basically riding towards the river. Like I said, it goes through this park which is called Kiwanis Park, and through the middle of Kiwanis Park there's a creek called the Pottersburg Creek. It's actually over on our right now in that valley there. And I believe the Pottersburg Creek is a tributary of the Thames River. So I suppose the path that we'll be taking is the same path that the water in there takes to eventually get to the forks of the Thames River in central London, which is where we'll be ending the video. And from that suburban sort of plaza where we started, we've now entered the park, of which is known as Kiwanis Park, which is quite a large park. Seems to go pretty far. It has lots of different pathways through it. It's a little bit of a maze, so I'm relying on my Google Maps GPS directions to help keep me on track during this video. It's a little bit hard to navigate and make a video otherwise. So I'm filming this at around 3:30 in the afternoon on what's been a really enjoyable day here in London. I've done quite a bit of bike riding before filming this video. I've actually ridden this trail in the opposite direction this morning, so I've seen it once before. If you're not familiar with my YouTube channel, I am based in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm only visiting London here for a 2-day period to explore the trails. This is my first time ever being in London on this trip, but I feel like this is the second of the 2 days, and I feel like I've had a good opportunity to see a lot of, at least the trails and the bike infrastructure. This is the fourth narrated bike riding video that I'm filming here in London. I mentioned this is the south branch of the Thames that we'll be taking for the bulk of this video. And there are 3 different branches of it. The south is just one of them. There's also a west branch and a north branch, which I've made 2 other dedicated videos about. And yeah, I've been quite impressed by the trails of this small city. London has a population of about 400,000 people. I think it works out really nicely how this trail just sort of connects up with the river trail. Gives you extra places to ride. And aside from that bumpy asphalt that we saw at the very beginning of the video, the trails seem to be in really good condition. I can now say that having seen now the entirety of the Thames Valley Parkway, or TVP. There you can see Pottersburg Creek on our right as we go under a road which is called Trafalgar Road. Actually, sorry, I want to go this way, I think. Sorry about that, I just stopped there to verify that I am actually going the correct direction, so I'll pick things back up and continue. I was trying to look at the name of the road so I could tell you that, and that got me off course. We've got a crossing up ahead of some railway tracks, and they've built this big dedicated bridge for getting across them, which is a nice piece of infrastructure. It tends to be things like rivers and train tracks and highways and things that tend to be the weakest links in trails. Usually they can pretty easily build a trail on one side of one of those obstacles and build it pretty easily on the other side, but so often we're lacking that critical connection over it or under it. So it's good to see that we don't have that missing piece here. I believe these are the CN rail tracks that we're crossing. And that hill was a little bit challenging to climb, mostly because this bike isn't very well geared for climbing hills. It's intended for being used in the city, and it has a good sort of medium range of gears that can enable you to go relatively fast when traveling along city streets, but whenever there's a steep hill, either to go up or go down, the bike kind of runs out of gears. I could be pedaling a lot faster right now if there was higher gears as I'm coasting from that downhill. But we're not in a big hurry anyways. We're here to smell the roses and enjoy the scenery here towards the late, or I guess mid-fall or autumn. But we're late in terms of the fall colors, which still lots of vibrant yellows and oranges and of course some greens left over. I'm filming this a little bit later in the day than I had originally planned on. It's hard to sort of know how long things are going to take when you're planning out your day. So my only concern is that after we join the Thames and we start riding in the west direction, that the sun will be kind of low in the sky, so we might get some of the sun being picked up directly by the camera, which might make it a little bit harder to appreciate from home, but hopefully not. I'm still kind of adjusting to daylight savings, or the loss of our daylight savings, where we changed our clocks back by an hour this past Sunday. So now it gets dark around 5 o'clock or so. But we certainly won't be in darkness by the time we finish this video. Alright, this next road up ahead we're going to go under is called Gore Road. There's another one that we get to go underneath of as opposed to coming over top. I like how these trails have a line down the middle of them. It really sort of reminds people that they need to share the trail. And if you've ridden a bike on a multi-use trail, I'm sure you've experienced the phenomenon where there's a big group of people and they're just sort of walking down, or even just two people, and they're walking down the trail like they own the whole thing, and they're right down the middle of it, and usually they're in the mid of a conversation and you want to say, could you just move over to the side a little bit, and you're ringing your bell and they don't hear you, and just causes not the best situation. You usually have to end up slowing down quite a bit, and they're usually startled by you, and it's not great. But when there's a line, it seems that people sort of know that, oh yeah, I got to stay on this side, and or at least, you know, maybe they cross the line, but not by much. And I have to say that the trail etiquette by the citizens of London that I've experienced have been phenomenal. I haven't really experienced any of those situations like I was describing on this particular trip. Alright, so this next road up ahead is called Hamilton Road, and this is one where we have to cross it at grade. There's no tunnel underneath of it, but there's a nice gap for me there to cross. And there's a sign there telling us that the Forks and Springbank Park are this way, and I'm not going to be going all the way to Springbank Park, but I am going to be going all the way to the Forks. But yeah, so here we've now joined the Thames Valley Parkway Trail, or TVP. TVP just sounds like kind of a funny acronym because it sounds really similar to the DVP, which people from Toronto area will be familiar with, the Don Valley Parkway. And it's interesting that, I mean, really it's the same acronym with the first word changed. Instead of Don, it's Thames. And it's interesting that they chose the word parkway to describe this trail, whereas a parkway in the context of the Don Valley Parkway is a highway where you're not allowed to be if you don't have some kind of motor on your vehicle. Alright, so we got to cross a road here, pretty minor one. Looks like it's just a driveway for this school is that a school? No, it looks like a water treatment plant. Or wastewater treatment plant, possibly. Straight ahead, I can see a dog park, off-leashed area for people with dogs. And yeah, so at the moment, the actual river is out of sight. I guess we haven't quite reached it yet, but we are riding parallel to it right now, at least. We just passed kilometer marker 8, and I think those kilometer markers probably start from the fork, so that means we've got another 8 kilometers to go before we get to our destination. According to Google Maps, it's only 7.5 kilometers to our destination, but perhaps the spot that I picked on the map to shoot for is not the actual fork. So yeah, you can see the sun is pretty low in the sky over there on the left. But hopefully you're still able to get a good view here. Up ahead on the left there's an old bridge called the Meadow Lily Bridge, which crosses the south branch of the Thames over there. Let me just swing the camera over there so you can see it. And here's a clip that I filmed earlier today. And as far as I know, that bridge is, you know, an old historic one that used to be a road bridge. The road there is called Meadow Lily Road. And you see that a fair bit along this trail. I know right near the forks there's a bridge that's called the King Street Bridge, and it looks, you know, of a similar design, made of, you know, riveted pieces of iron. And again, given the name of the bridge, King Street, which is a road that it, you know, runs directly in line with. This is Highbury Avenue that we're gonna ride under here, which looks like they've been doing some bridge rehabilitation work. There's sort of a metal structure temporarily in place above. Here's kilometer marker number 7 on the trail. I'd say things have definitely cooled down a little bit from earlier today. The forecast was predicting a high of 11 today, and I think we hit that and maybe even exceeded that today, at least where I was. But now that the sun is getting lower in the sky, I'm definitely feeling a little bit colder than I was earlier. But I am dressed for it. These temperatures are definitely seasonably high for this time of year. Sometimes we get our first snowfall in November. And actually this morning when I woke up and I checked the temperature outside, it was 1 degree Celsius, so pretty close to the freezing point. There's a nice view of the river over there on the left. So this trail is called the South Branch of the TVP. And the river, I think it's tempting to say that would be called the South Branch of the Thames River, but I think it's actually just called the Thames River. It's like the main river, and the north one joins it at the fork, and then from there it's, you know, the Thames River again. I've seen it labeled on the map just simply as the Thames River. That's what leads me to believe that. Although interestingly, having ridden along both of them, it seems like the North Branch is wider and carries more water. So why this is the main branch and the North Branch is called North, I don't know. I'm sure there's a good reason. Maybe this branch goes a lot further. And through here there's a disc golf course. You'll see a number of little poles with a bunch of chains hanging from them. There's one over here on the left coming into view, that red thing with the chains. So disc golf is kind of two sports combined. It's frisbees and golf. I guess it's called frisbee golf sometimes too. But the frisbees they use are smaller than what you'd use if you're just going out with your friends and throwing a frisbee around a park. But the rules of it work pretty similar to golf, that you start at a certain spot and everyone gets to throw their frisbee, you know, as far as they can towards the target, and you just count the number of times that you throw it, and then you come and pick it up and throw it again, and that's how you keep track of who's winning. How many strokes, or I guess throws. We have disc golf in This golf course is in Toronto. I can think of at least 3 of them. This is called Vauxhall Park that we're coming through now. You can see these big weeping willow trees we're coming past with those big tumorous growth things. There must be a name for those, but I don't know what it is. Something that you see on willow trees fairly often, but not on all willow trees. I'm not exactly sure the reasoning behind it. But yeah, this is a really nice trail. I'm really enjoying coming down it for my second time. I really enjoyed it this morning as well. It's good to see that others are out enjoying it too. Lots of bikes that have passed me, as well as lots of pedestrians and so far today, including my first loop of this trail and filming my other video earlier today, I've ridden 75 kilometers, which is further than I ever envisioned that I'd be riding on a folding bike like this one. But I'm feeling good, and no real aches or pains or anything like that. And I've been pretty happy with this bike. If you've seen the other portions of my videos here in London, you may recall that I've had some issues with the bike with the chain falling off. I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good in this ride. It's kind of a strange thing. I don't quite know what's causing it. I seem to have improved the situation. The thing is that after I got the bike, I rode it around, you know, pretty much everywhere that I rode for the 2 weeks leading up to this trip, or really, I guess it's probably the 1 week leading up to this trip, and didn't encounter any mechanical problems during that period. So this is sort of a surprise that only came once I got here, but it's really not a big deal. You just stop and put your chain back on. So up ahead we're going to be crossing the river and riding on the other side. This trail does that from time to time. I guess it has to do with the condition of the lands on either side. Sometimes it's not possible to have a trail because of, you know, how flat the land is or the conditions of it. And also probably there's some sections of the river that have been, you know, sold to private people. So private land where you can't build a trail through. So yeah, we're going to make a turn here sort of to the left, and that will direct us towards the bridge that we're going to cross. You can see a school bus straight ahead. This is being filmed on a Wednesday, so it's a school day today. I'm on vacation. Not that I go to school anymore. But you know what I mean. It's a weekday. It's kind of nice traveling and visiting a place during the week. It's not really that busy like it would be on a weekend. All in all, I've really enjoyed this trip. It's definitely been time well spent. I got here taking the Go Transit's train service that they've introduced a little less than a month ago. They introduced this pilot where they're having one early morning train going from London to Toronto each day and returning in the early afternoon. And that's the train that I'll be catching very early tomorrow. It's I think 5:20 or so, something like that. So I'll be up before 5. I'm heading over to the train station. Thankfully my hotel is quite close to the train. It's only, you know, about a 5-minute bike ride, if that. I'll give myself lots of time in case something more serious goes wrong with the bike. Because if I miss that train, well, I'll have to wait another day before I can catch another one. So we've crossed over to the other side of the bridge, or the other side of the river. We're going to go underneath of that bridge, and that bridge, as you can see from the green side, is signed as for Adelaide Street. And this is called Chelsea Green Park. And the sign on the left says that this is the Jane Bigelow pathway. It's interesting that they seem to double name things here, because I could have sworn this is the Thames Valley Parkway, but I guess maybe just this section is named after that person. Just past kilometer marker 3.5 back there, that blue sign. We've got a railway bridge to go under up ahead. Yeah, so you get pretty nice views of the river. I guess at this time of the year, after, you know, a lot of the leaves have fallen from the trees and a lot of the, you know, low-lying vegetation has sort of died off, you get probably better views of the river than you would if I'd come here, say, in, you know, July or August or even September. And now we're heading straight into the sun. But we will be turning momentarily, so we won't have that big bright spot in our view anymore. Before filming this video, I had a late lunch. I went to Arby's, which is a chain of restaurants that doesn't exist anymore in the central Greater Toronto area where I live. But they have 3 of them here in London, and I thought, oh, that's my chance to get a nice roast beef sandwich from there, which is something I remember from my childhood, going to Arby's with my family. And yeah, didn't disappoint. With the roast beef sandwich, and of course the delicious curly fries that they serve at Arby's. Yeah, this trail just seems to keep on going. Like it's, I mean, given the fact that I've ridden more than 75 kilometers today and it's been exclusively on trails, is, you know, a testament to the trail network that they have here. I mean, not all of that was on trails, and I've certainly doubled up on the trail, but yeah, if you want a good day of riding on trails, I'd recommend coming to visit London, Ontario. Hopefully in the future the GO train service will be improved and expanded to allow for things like this that are maybe a little bit more convenient. So up ahead here we've got another bridge to go across. This is Wellington Street that we're going to be riding next to as we do it. And this is called the Clark's Bridge. which apparently has been here since 1840, although I would be very surprised if this bridge is still the same one that they built back then. I guess they're just commemorating the existence of any bridge on their street here. We come back under the bridge, and over there on the left, notice that there's a motorboat, just a small aluminum boat in the river there, which is docked next to one of the houses. Been really curious about these rivers in terms of, you know, how feasible they are for paddling in. I could see myself doing a future excursion here to London with the plan of going paddling on the river, of using some form of watercraft to do that. The rivers seem to have a fair bit of current in them, so might be the sort of trip where you'd get dropped off at one point and paddle downstream. Although it's probably still possible to paddle upstream, just from what I saw of the current, could be a pretty intense workout. That park we just rode through was Richard B. Harrison Park. And by the way, I'm totally cheating with these references by referencing the map that's sitting here in front of me as I'm doing it. This would be a very different video if I lived in London and grew up here and knew everything about it, but for this is my only second day here. This is my first time making a video that was really outside of the Greater Toronto area in quite a while. Most of my, at least a narrated bike riding video. I've certainly made other types of videos in other areas. I'm just seeing a sign over on the left. After this next bridge, there's a dam that it's warning paddlers about. We got a stop sign here, and we'll have to wait for a gap in the traffic, and there's one right there. And that's Richmond Street that we're just passing there, which is sort of the main north-south street. Over there you can kind of see the dam. It's really just a weir. Go down this hill. We're getting pretty close to downtown now because Richmond is pretty close to the Forks. And actually, I've never ridden this section yet because when I joined the trail, it was from, I guess it was the bridge before, the street before Richmond Street, I think. So this is all new to me. I'm glad we still have sunlight for making this video. The hotel where I'm staying is located on Dundas Street, and it's maybe a kilometer from the main downtown at Richmond. So this morning I just got on the, came out of my hotel and just kind of went south and jumped in the trail whenever I could, and then continued from there. That is Redoubt Street. We just went under there. And this is Horton Street, east, that we're riding along next to here. And I actually rode along that street when I was making my tour of downtown London video, although not quite this far. So yeah, given that that dam is located just a little bit downstream of where that motorboat is, I guess they probably don't have that far that they can go from their home there on the river. And that boat, I'm guessing it looks like a fishing boat. They probably just use it for going fishing in their little part of the river there. But yeah, if you're paddling down, of course you have to know that dam is there. There was a nice big sign warning you of it, but you got to know where to get out and how to bypass it. Now we're going under Horton Street, the street that we were just riding next to a second ago. And the downtown of London is kind of diagonally over that way towards our right. And we just passed kilometer marker 0.5, so we're virtually there in terms of the forks of the Thames. I think I'll just end things here in Ivey Park, which is where I started my video, where I rode along the north branch of this river. And of course the forks are where this south branch that we're seeing on our left and that north branch come together, and they continue in the west direction, ultimately flowing into Lake St. Clair, which is in between Sarnia and Windsor, or Detroit, which is on the other side of the river from there. And this up ahead is the Dundas Street. Oh, that's actually a pedestrian bridge, it looks like there, that we're coming under, but there's a sign there alerting cyclists that now the Dundas Street bikeway is open. And yeah, here we are at the forks. That sign there was showing me that if I wanted to go to the west branch, I should have turned right, and that the north branch is up ahead. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me on this narrated tour. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.